So
Thus,
you've
the
not
living
started the
entities are able
program
to.
yet. Priya Mataji, we've not started the program yet.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
So
sorry. Haribo.
yeah. Okay, we'll start it. I'll announce it at 7:45, and then you will start.
I
So
see.
hang
I
around.
thought I was running.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय गुदं पुंसो विनिर्भिन्नं मित्रो लोकेश आविशत् पायुनांशेन येनासो विसर्गं प्रतिपद्यते
The evacuating channels separately became manifest, and the director named Mitra entered into it with partial organs of evacuation. Thus, the living entities are able to pass stool and urine.
हस्तावस्य विनिर्भिन्ना इन्द्रः सर्व स्वरपतिराविशत् वार्तांशेन पुरुषो यया वृत्ति प्रपद्यते
Thereafter, when the hands of the gigantic form separately became manifested, Indra, the ruler of the heavenly planets, entered into them, and thus the living entities is able to transact business for his livelihood.
पादावस्य विनिर्भिन्नो लोकेशो विष्णुराविशत् गत्या श्वासेन पुरुषो यया प्राप्यां प्रपद्यते
Thereafter, the legs of the gigantic form separately became manifest, and the demigod named Vishnu, not the personality of Godhead, entered the partial movement. This helps the living entity move to his destination.
बुद्धिं चास्य विनिर्भिन्ना भागिशो धिष्णमाविशत् बोधेनांशेन बोधव्यां प्रतिपतिरतो भवेत्
When the intelligence of the gigantic form separately became manifest, Brahma, the Lord of the Vedas, entered into it with partial power of understanding, and thus an object of understanding is experienced by the living entities.
हृदयं चास्य निर्भिन्नं चन्द्रमा धिष्णमाविशत् मनसांशेन येनासो विक्रियां प्रतिपद्यते
After that, the heart of the gigantic form separately manifests itself, and into it entered the moon demigod with partial mental activity. Thus, the living entity can conduct his mental speculations.
आत्मानं चास्य निर्भिन्नम् अभिमानो विष्टपदं कर्मांशेन येनासो कर्तव्यं प्रतिपद्यते
Thereafter, the materialistic ego of the gigantic form separately manifests itself, and into it entered Rudra, the controller of false ego, with his own partial activities by which the living entity transacts his objective actions.
सत्वं चास्य विनिर्भिन्नम् अहङ्धिष्णुमुपाविशत् चित्तेनांशेन येनासो विज्ञानं प्रतिपद्यते
Thereafter, when his consciousness separately manifested itself, the total energy, Mahat Tattva, entered with his conscious part. Thus, the living entity is able to conceive specific knowledge.
शीर्षणोऽस्यध्योरधरा पद्भ्यां खं नाभेरुत्पद्यत् गुणानां वृत्त्योरेषु प्रतीयन्ते सुराद्याः.
Thereafter, from the head of the gigantic form, the heavenly planets were manifested, and from his legs, the earthly planets, and from his abdominal, the sky separately manifested themselves. Within them, the demigods and others also were manifested in terms of the modes of material nature.
अत्यन्तिकेन सत्त्वेन दिवं देवा प्रपेदिरे धरां रजः स्वभावेन पर्ण्यो ये च ताननु.
The demigods, qualified by the super excellent quality of the modes of goodness, are situated in the heavenly planets, whereas the human beings, because of their nature in the mode of passion, live on earth in company with their subordinates.
कार्तीयेन स्वभावेन भगवन्नाभिमाश्रितः उभयोरन्तरं व्योमये रुद्रपार्षदां गणः.
Living entities who are associates of Rudra develop in the third mode of material nature or ignorance. They are situated in the sky between the earthly planets and the heavenly planets.
मुक्तो वर्तता ब्रह्मा पुरुषस्य कुरुद्वः यस्तून्मुखत्वात् वर्णानां मुख्यो ब्राह्मणो गुरु.
O chief of the Kuru dynasty, the Vedic wisdom becomes manifested from the mouth of the Virat, the gigantic form. Those who are inclined to this Vedic knowledge are called Brahmanas, and they are the natural teachers and spiritual masters of all the orders of society.
बाहुभयो वर्तत क्षत्रं क्षत्रिया सत्तदनुव्रतः योजास्त्रायते वर्णान् पौरुषः कण्टकस्तात्.
Thereafter, the power of protection was generated from the arms of the gigantic Virat form. And in relation to such power of the Kshatriyas also came into existence by following the Kshatriya's principle of protecting society from the disturbances of thieves and miscreants.
विशोवर्तन्तस्यो उर्वो लोकवृत्तिकरिः विभो वैश्य तत् उद्भव वार्ताम. Sorry, can I speak again? विषा अवर्तन्तस्य उर्वो लोकवृत्तकरी विभो वैश्य तत् उद्भवार्तां नृणां या संवर्त्यत्.
The means of livelihood of all persons, namely production of grains and their distribution to the pujaris, was generated from the thigh of the Lord's gigantic form. The mercantile men who take charge of such executions are called Vyasyas. Yeah. Okay. Apologies for mispronunciation.
पद्भ्यां भगवतो जज्ञे शुश्रूषा धर्मसिद्धये तस्यां जातः पुरा शूद्रो भक्त्या तुष्यते हरिः.
Thereafter, service was manifested from the legs of the personality of Godhead for the sake of perfecting the religious function. Situated on the legs are Sudras, who satisfy the Lord by service.
एते वर्णाः स्वधर्मेण यजन्ति स्वगुरुं हरिं. श्रद्धात्मशुद्ध्यर्थं यज्जाताः सह वृत्तिभिः.
All these different social divisions are born with their occupational duties and living conditions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, for unconditional life and self-realization, one has to worship the Supreme Lord under the direction of a spiritual master.
एतत् क्षतः भगवता देव कर्मातं रूपिणः. कः श्रद्धयादुपाकर्तुं योगमाया बलोदयम्.
All these different Vidura, Vidura, who can estimate or measure the transcendental time, work, and potency of the gigantic form manifested by the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
तथापि कीर्तयामङ्गं यथामति यथा श्रुतं. कीर्तिं हरेः स्वां सत्कर्तुं गिरमन्याभिधास्तीम्.
In spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear from the spiritual master and whatever I could assimilate, I am now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech, for otherwise my power of speaking would remain unchaste.
एकान्तलाभं वचसो न पुंसां सुश्लोकमौलेर्गुणवादमाहुः. श्रुतेश्च विद्वद्भिरुपाकृतायां कथासुधायामुपसम्प्रयोगम्.
The highest perfection gain of humanity is to engage in discussions of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the ear is served by just by being near them.
आत्मनो वसितो वत्सा महिमा कविनादिना. संवत्सरसहस्रान्ते धिया योगविपक्कया.
O my son, the original poet Brahma, after mature meditation for 1,000 celestial years, could know only that the glories of the Supreme Soul are inconvincible.
अतो भगवतो माया मायिनामपि मोहिनी. यत् स्वयं चातं वर्तमात्मा न वेद किमुता परे.
The wonderful potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is bewildering even to the jugglers. That potency is unknown even to the self-sufficient Lord. So it is certainly unknown to others.
यतो प्राप्य नैवर्तन्त वाचश्च मनसा सह. अहं चान्या इमे देवास्तस्मै भगवते नमः.
Words, mind, sorry. Uh, sorry, I think you need to. The wonderful. No, I think I've just read one. Words, mind, and ego with their respect. Words, mind, and ego with their respectively controlling demigods have failed to achieve success in knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, we simply have to offer our respectful obeisances unto him as a matter of sanity.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, and please forgive me for my mistakes. I have done so many mistakes.
Yeah, and me.
During recitation.
Yeah, me.
Recitation,
Hare
please.
Mataji's, yeah.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Please.
Hare Bol. Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Priya Mataji. And iPhone, sorry, Mataji, your Prem
Thank
Kumar.
you, Mataji. I am Raslekha.
Sorry?
I am Raslekha Devidasi.
Oh, Raslekha Devidasi Mataji. Thank you so much. Very nice recitations. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Sorry माताजी मैंने
Hare Krishna.
बड़ी मिस्टेक्स किया बीच में Thank you.
Hare Bol, Mataji. If I said any words, please forgive me too. Hare Bol.
Thank you. Hare Bol. Thank you so much. Okay, so we will we will discuss today's shlokas by offering our prayers first. So we will recite Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandhasya Gnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavane वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्य ईश्वरम्. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. I offer my respectful obeisances to all the devotees. I'm very, very grateful and happy to be here to discuss Hari Katha for my own purification after a long time. So please bear with me. If I make any mistakes, please forgive me in advance. I like to say that. So, yes, this is a wonderful chapter 6 of third canto, and this last 4 to 6 verses are very, very beautiful verses. In this chapter, we know that Maitreya Muni, he starts by describing the process of creation in response to Vidura's questions. And he also thereafter explains and describes beautiful prayers by the personified elements in the previous chapter. And then he explains about all these elements, how they are amalgamated by Lord's Bibrat Shakti, right? Cohesive energy. And that's how the universe is formed. And after describing the whole process, which we have seen in this chapter, first 10 verses were development of the gigantic universal form. Thereafter, 11 to 26 verses were manifestation of different demigods from the universal form. Thereafter, 27 to 34 was development of planets, living entities, and varnas. And 35 to 40, these verses, Maitreya Muni says that Vidura, I do not have great understanding of the whole process of creation, but still I am trying to explain for my own purification, and that is the topic of these verses, verses 35 to 40, where Maitreya Muni is very, very humble, and very humbly he says that, he's doing this for his own purification. And no one really has the complete understanding of Lord's Nam Rup Gun Leela. They are unlimited, but whatever understanding one has, that should be correct understanding. It might be incomplete, but it should not be incorrect. So we should be hearing from bona fide acharyas, and that's how we will read today's purports and translations by Srila Prabhupada and try to discuss in that light. So, verse 37, Ekantalabham vachaso nupumsam shushlokamauler gunavadamahu shruteshcha vidvatbhir upakritayam katha sudhayam upasamprayogam. Synonyms: Ekanta, the one which has no comparison. Labham, gain. Vachasa, by discussions. Nupumsam, after the Supreme Person. Shushloka, pious. Maule, activities. Gunavadam, glorification. Ahu, it is so said. Shrute, of the ear. Cha, also. Vidvatbhi, by the learned. Upakritayam, being so edited. Katha Sudhayam, in the nectar of such a transcendental message. Upasamprayogam, serves the real purpose, being nearer to. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The highest perfectional gain of humanity is to engage in discussions of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the ear is served just by being near them. Purport. Anyone wants to read the purport here? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Can I? Please?
Yes, Mataji. Sure, Indira Mataji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. The impersonalists are very much afraid of hearing the activities of the Lord because they think that the happiness derived from the transcendental situation of the Brahman is the ultimate goal of life. They think that anyone's activities, even that of the personality of Godhead, is mundane. But the idea of happiness indicated in this verse is different because it relates to the activities of the Supreme Personality, who has transcendental qualities. The word gunya vadam is significant because the qualities of the Lord and his activities and pastimes are the subject matter of the discussion of the devotees. A rishi like Maitreya is certainly not interested in discussing anything pertaining to mundane qualities, yet he says that the highest perfectional stage of transcendental realization is to discuss the Lord's activities. Srila Jiva Goswami therefore concludes that topics regarding the transcendental activities of the Lord are far beyond the transcendental realization of Kaivalya happiness. These transcendental activities of the Lord are so arranged in writing by the great sages that simply by hearing of those narrations, one becomes perfectly self-realized and the proper use of the ear and the tongue is also achieved. Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the such great literature and highest perfectional stage of life to attain simply by hearing and reciting its contents. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So I'll read the translation again. The highest perfectional gain of humanity is to engage in discussions of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the ear is served just by being near them. Now, we hear Prabhupada also says in the purport that, highest perfectional stage of transcendental realization is to discuss Lord's activities. And in the previous, the beautiful words also, Tathapi Kirtamyamanga, Yathamati Yathashrutam, Kirtim Hare Swam Satkartum, Giram Anyabhidhasatim. So he's saying that our speech becomes pure and all our senses are chaste if we are discussing Krishna Katha. Our speech is chaste if we are discussing Krishna Katha. There, Maitreya Muni says that if I don't do so, then otherwise my power of speaking would remain unchaste. So we can see here, and here in this verse also, this word Shushloka Mauler is mentioned. Shushloka Mauler, right? So what he's saying here, that the highest gain for any human being is Shushloka Mauler, who is the Lord, who is glorified in choicest poetry, is to speak his glories, which are kept very nicely in writing, recorded and edited by learned devotees. And the purpose of the ear is served by being near the descriptions and narrations. Thus we will be purified, and that is the glory of speaking Krishna Katha despite of our inabilities. Now, in the second canto, if you remember, there is one verse, and we had discussed this verse in the third chapter, and I hope I can open it. Can you see 2.3.20 on your screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you. Okay, so the verse was Bile Batoru Krama Vikramanye Na Shravana Karna Pute Narasya Jivasati Dara Durikeva Suta Na Chopagayatya Urugaya Gathaha. What it means here in the translation, it says, one who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. So, in this second canto, it is clearly mentioning here in this verse that if we if we are not utilizing our senses for the purpose it has been given to us, then basically it is a waste. So, the ear holes that is not listening to the prowess and marvelous acts of the Lord, basically his pastimes, then if those ears that are not hearing that are like the holes of the snakes, and the tongue that is not singing or chanting loudly the worthy songs of the Lord are like the tongue of a frog. So we can see here that how it is so important us to utilize our senses for chanting the holy name, singing the kirtans, discussing Krishna Katha. Like in book distribution, all the wonderful devotees, they go and inform others about who the Lord is and what are his activities and why this human form, this birth is given, so that we can purify and go back to Godhead. So thus, there is also one more verse in that sense. It is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, if I can open it. That is also Madhya Leela, 19170. सर्वोपाधि विनिर्मुक्तं तत्परत्वेन निर्मलं ऋषिकेन ऋषिकेश सेवनं bhaktiruchyate. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord. the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is that he is freed from all material designations and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So here also this verse says the same thing, that we need to engage all our senses in the service of the Lord, and that is the best utilization of our senses. And one more verse from Madhya Leela. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyai sevan mukhe hi jivadau swayameva spuratyada. So the verse says, therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. Because our senses are material, they cannot appreciate, because we cannot see Krishna. He is beyond our material senses. So how to understand? We can awaken these senses by first rendering service by using our tongue to chant. First chant and then eat the remnants of the Lord's food, prasadam. Thus, by chanting and eating prasadam, the tongue is purified and gradually one comes to understand who Krishna is. So this is the best utilization of one's senses. So that is my understanding of this verse 37, that the highest perfectional gain is using our senses in Krishna's service. So we will move on to the verse 38 now. So that was verse number 37. And I will try to open. Okay, let's have a look. Which one is that? Okay. I don't know why the thing won't change. Okay, Shushloka Molar, yeah. So now we are on verse number 38. Atmano vachito vatsa mahima kavina dina samvatsara sahasrante dhiya yoga vipakkaya. O my son, the original poet Brahma, after mature meditation for 1000 celestial years, could know only that the glories of the Supreme Soul are inconceivable. Purport. There are some froggish philosophers who want to know the Supreme Soul by means of philosophy and mental speculation. And when the devotees who are to some extent in knowledge of the Supreme Lord admit that the glories of the Lord are inestimable or inconceivable, the froggish philosophers adversely criticize them. These philosophers, like the frog in the well, who tried to estimate the measurement of the Pacific Ocean, like to take trouble over fruitless mental speculation instead of taking instructions from devotees like the original poet, namely Brahma. Lord Brahma underwent a severe type of meditation for 1000 celestial years. Yet he said that the glories of the Lord are inconceivable. Therefore, what can the froggish philosophers hope to gain from their mental speculations? So here this verse is explaining that glories of Krishna are inconceivable even to Brahma. Because Brahma did meditation, as Prabhupada says, for 1000 celestial years. And he could now only know only the glories of the Supreme Soul are still inconceivable to him. It is said in Brahma Samhita that the mental speculator may fly through the sky of speculation with the velocity of the mind or the wind for thousands of millions of years, and still he will find it inconceivable. The devotees, however, do not waste time in such vain searching after knowledge of the Supreme, but they submissively hear the glories of the Lord from bona fide devotees. Thus, they transcendentally enjoy the process of hearing and chanting. The Lord approves of the devotional activities of the devotees or Mahatmas, and he says, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti anantamanaso gnatva bhutadim avyayam. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. The pure devotees of the Lord take shelter of the Para Prakriti, the internal potency of the Lord called Lakshmi Devi, Sita Devi, Srimati Radharani or Srimati Rukmini Devi, and thus they become actual Mahatmas or great souls. Mahatmas are not fond of indulging in mental speculations, but they actually take to the devotional service of the Lord without the slightest deviation. Devotional service is manifested by the primary process of hearing and chanting about the activities of the Lord. So we know there are 9 processes of devotional service, bhakti, and the primary ones are Shravanam and Kirtanam. So that's what is mentioned here, that this transcendental method practiced by the Mahatmas gives them sufficient knowledge of the Lord, because if the Lord can at all be known to some extent, it is only through the means of devotional service and no other way. So basically, one may have a lot of knowledge by reading the Shastras, and they are very philosophical also, but that knowledge will become realization. Means what? They will get proper understanding of it only by service, only by serving the spiritual master through devotional service. One will be able to actually understand that knowledge and be able to apply it in the life. That is called realization, that comes by service. One may go on speculating and waste the valuable time of his human life, but that will not help anyone to enter into the presence of the Lord. The Mahatmas, however, are not concerned with knowing the Lord by mental speculation, because they enjoy hearing about his glorious activities in his transcendental dealings with his devotees or with the demons. The devotees take pleasure in both and are happy in this life and the life after. This also reminds me, when I read this mental speculation, is that, some philosophers, they are so much into analyzing the Shastras that they have their own certain analysis from their understanding. For example, Mayavadis, and there would be some other Mayavadi who has his own strong opinions about what he has read and what his understanding is through the analysis, but they don't both seem to agree sometimes. Then one will be sitting here, one will be sitting there, so it's more like a loner kind of their practice. But in bhakti, in devotional service, we actually see that in so many verses in Bhagavatam it is mentioned that devotees, their main support is being together. For example, if we are chanting at home alone, instead, in case we are in temple chanting with devotees, obviously our chanting will be much, much better. We will be watching other devotees, and that itself will inspire us to sit straight or chant with focus. I'm chanting, let me hear the holy name, and so I'm chanting and then I'm hearing. So Shravanam and Kirtanam both happens nicely when we are with devotees. So that is the glory of bhakti, that by devotee association one is able to purify quickly. But whereas those who are doing just mental speculation on the basis of their intelligence or reading the philosophy with their own thoughts and analysis, that bhakti is not as simple, or they are not really able to relish or enjoy the pastimes of the Lord. That's what is my understanding here. And even glories of the Lord are inconceivable to Brahma. We know in 2:741, if I can find the verse here, Brahma says, this is the verse of Brahma. He says here about Ananta Shesha, that Ananta Shesha, he could not reach the limit of Supreme Lord's glories, even though since time immemorial he is chanting and glorifying the Lord. This 2:741 verse, this is Brahma's his own conviction. He says, Nantam vidamyaham ami mune ograchaste maya balasya purushasya kuto varaye gayan gunandasha satanana adi deva shesho dhunapi samavasyati nasya param. Neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge. So Brahma says, before me who were born, after me who were born, nobody knows the Lord completely. They cannot fully understand how potent, powerful Lord is. And the first person who has come from Krishna, who is Balaram, none other than Ananta Shesha, he has been glorifying since beginning, and still he has not reached the limit, of such knowledge, although he is describing such qualities of Lord with 10,000 faces. So with 10,000 hoods and unlimited, he's been going on glorifying. He has not reached the limit. Forget, there are so many incarnations, and each incarnation has done unlimited pastimes and unlimited glories. So it's impossible for anyone, if it is impossible for Ananta Shesha himself. So Brahma it's inconceivable even to Brahma. And even we know the same about this thing from Bhagavad Gita verse 10.2, right? It says the same thing. Name vidu suragana prabhavam na maharshaya aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Krishna is their source. So how would they fully be able to understand Krishna? Even Krishna himself uh, does not know how much power he himself has. So forget about the demigods and all the other sages. They cannot understand. Also, there is one more verse in that respect, 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 38. Jananta eva janantu kim bahuktya na me prabho manaso vapusho vacho vaibhavam tava gocharaha. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. Let them think that way. As far as I am concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Oh my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. These are Brahma's prayers. This is 10th canto, 14th chapter. So even Brahma says that if people say, I know everything about Krishna, then it should not be taken very seriously, because those who have a lot of knowledge would actually never say that I have a lot of knowledge, because that is the real what you call litmus test of a knowledgeable person. He would never say that I have so much knowledge. So people of great knowledge, they think that they don't know much, but people who have little knowledge, they think that I know everything. So that's what it says here in this verse, that no one knows everything about Krishna. If they say they do, then that is not true. And that is the symptom of humility of a devotee. They will never think that I know sufficiently enough, or I have sufficiently understood the Lord. It is not possible. They will never say that. They'll always say there is so much to learn, so much to understand and know about Krishna. So, awareness of one's lack of understanding and knowledge is actually humility. But if one is overconfident, then that is understood to be arrogance. So, that is verse number 38. And now we will read 39. We have two more verses, so we should have enough time. Yeah. अतो भगवतो माया मायिनामपि मोहिनी यत्स्वयं चात्मवर्त्मात्मा न वेद किम उतापरे. The wonderful potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is bewildering even to the jugglers. That potency is unknown even to the self-sufficient Lord, so it is certainly unknown to others. Anyone who can read?
I can read, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Pushpa Mataji, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Purport. The froggish philosophers and mundane wranglers in science and mathematical calculation may not believe in the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they are sometimes puzzled by the wonderful jugglery of man and nature. Such jugglers and magicians of the mundane world are actually puzzled by the jugglery of the Lord in his transcendental activities, but they try to adjust their bewilderment by saying that it is mythology. There is, however, nothing impossible or mythological in the supreme omnipotent person. The most wonderful puzzle for the mundane wranglers is that while they remain calculating the length and breadth of the unlimited potency of the Supreme Person, his faithful devotees are set free from the bondage of material engagement simply by appreciating the wonderful jugglery of the Supreme in the practical field. The devotees of the Lord see the wonderful dexterity in everything with which they come in contact in all circumstances of eating, sleeping, working, etc. A small banyan fruit contains thousands of small seeds, and each seed holds the potency of another tree, which again holds the potency of many millions of such fruits as causes and effects. So the trees and seeds engaged the devotees in meditation about the activities of the Lord, while the mundane wranglers waste time in dry speculation and mental concoction, which are fruitless in both this life and the next. In spite of their pride in speculation, they can never appreciate the simple potential activities of the banyan tree. Such speculators are poor souls, destined to remain in matter perpetually. Haribol.
Haribol, thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, so such a wonderful example is given here by Srila Prabhupada about this small banyan fruit, that how it contains thousands of small seeds, and each seed holds the potency of another tree. So, here Srila Prabhupada is giving this example so we can understand that Lord's potencies, they bewilder everyone. This is very bewildering fact, right? That you see a small seed you can hold in your hand, but then again, this seed has everything that it takes to grow into a huge banyan tree. So here in the words used are Mainam, Api Mohini. So there are two meanings. Mainam, first meaning we could understand is that the Lord has illusory potencies. Obviously, the one example we can give is Brahma Vimohan Leela, right? What happened in there that Brahma wanted to test Krishna's response by stealing his boys and the cows. So he stole them. And, Krishna acted so innocent. He acted fearful. He did not find the boys. And he was acting that he's searching, where are my boys? Where are all the gopas? So and he's searching the calf. So Krishna was apparently looked like he was bewildered, but it was totally to confuse and bewilder Brahma even more. And then Krishna expanded into all the boys and calves, and we know rest of the pastime that how everyone, all the elder gopas and gopis, they experience Vatsalya rasa, right? The parental love for Krishna, each and every one because then Krishna became their children. He also expanded into the small calves. So all the cows had so much love for each of their calf because it was none other than Krishna. So he wanted to give this pleasure to all the elderly gopas, gopis, and cows, the Vatsalya Bhava. So this is what Krishna's energies are, his potencies are, and it is very, very bewildering. Brahma himself, the first person of our universe, the most intelligent person, was bewildered. So and yes, the second meaning of Mainam is also that the demons and atheists, they also have mystic power, but Krishna bewilders them also. We know the demons, right? If we think so many, the examples in the Vrindavan, the pastimes of Krishna's Balya Leela, Trinavrata, Putana, they may have some powers to transform into something or to become so big and then fly 80,000 miles up in the sky like that. But Krishna even bewilders them. We know without any weapons, Krishna kills all these demons that were sent by Kamsa, and they just look like a little, play pastime of a child. So that's how Krishna kills them. So yes, Krishna's activities are very, very bewildering. And we know once how Hanuman, he had forgotten his powers and Jambavan had to remind him. So in this way, Krishna himself has so much power that he cannot himself, measure it himself. For example, if we were to explain that, we could say that there might be a very, very wealthy person who has properties and so much wealth all over the, Earth planet in so many different countries. Then if you ask him, he himself might not know how much land or how much property or how much he has where. In the same way, this is just like a very mundane example, but if we were to think about this example 1,000 times, 100 millions of times magnified, that's how much power Krishna has. So it is very bewildering to everyone. Krishna himself doesn't know. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that while the mundane wranglers, here he says, waste time in dry speculation and mental concoction, which are fruitless both in this life and next life. So, this is how, despite their pride in speculation, they can never appreciate the simple activities of banyan tree's potency. So, such speculators are poor souls destined to remain in matter perpetually. So, simple faith in Krishna is more powerful than great philosophical understanding. Just the simple faith is much, much more powerful. It will take us nearer Krishna than trying to do just some speculation on the basis of, knowledge, etc. Yes, simple faith. That is much more powerful. And the last verse here, yato prapya nyavartanta vachascha manasa saha aham chanya ime devas tasmai bhagavate namaha. Words, mind, and ego, with their respective controlling demigods, have failed to achieve success in knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, we simply have to offer our respectful obeisances unto Him as a matter of sanity. The froggish calculator may raise the objection that if the absolute is unknowable even by the controlling deities of speech, mind, and ego, namely Vedas, Brahma, Rudra, and all the demigods headed by Brihaspati, then why should the devotees be so interested in this unknown object? The answer is that the transcendental ecstasy enjoyed by the devotees in delineating the pastimes of the Lord is certainly unknown to non-devotees and mental speculators. Unless one relishes the transcendental joy, naturally one will come back from his speculations and concocted conclusions because he will see them as neither factual nor enjoyable. The devotees can at least know that the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, as the Vedic hymns confirm. Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suryaham. Bhagavad Gita 15:15 also confirms this fact. Vedescha Sarve Rahameva Vedyo. By culture of Vedic knowledge, one must know Lord Krishna and should not falsely speculate on the word aham or I. The only method for understanding the supreme truth is devotional service, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tattvataha. Only by devotional service one can know that the ultimate truth is the personality of Godhead and that Brahman and Paramatma are only his partial features. We studied this in Bhagavad Gita, right? Second chapter, that Brahman and Paramatma are the partial features of Bhagavan personality. This is confirmed in this verse by the great sage Maitreya. With devotion, he offers his sincere surrender, Namaha, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavate. One has to follow in the footsteps of great sages and devotees like Maitreya and Vidura. Maharaj Parikshit and Sukdev Goswami and engage in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord if one would know his ultimate feature, which is above Brahman and Paramatma. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, sixth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Creation of the Universal Form. So this 40th verse, the theme is simple bhakti. So one should offer mind, words, our ego, and all the respects to Krishna. however thoughtful someone is in philosophy, okay, understanding philosophy or its analysis, or someone might be very, very eloquent in speaking, but still one cannot sufficiently describe Krishna's glories. Why? Because Krishna is faster than our mind and words. If Krishna is faster than our mind and words, how can we ever reach describing his glories? So, what is the best thing to do? Because Krishna is beyond our ability to think, to speak, to describe, or contemplate by our senses, we cannot reach God. So, what is the best thing to do? Simply offer your obeisances. Here, Srila Prabhupada says, be very, very sincere and pay your obeisances to Krishna and offer your words, your body, your mind, or speech, everything to Krishna. And that is the way to utilize our senses. Because if we try to reach Krishna, it's impossible. He is faster than anyone and anything. And this is also one of the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Man mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam mat parayanaha. So when I read this last verse, this verse popped in my mind that this is very apt. That Krishna says this is the essence of everything. That engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. This is Krishna's promise. And then Sarvadharman parityajya mamevam sharanam rajaha. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So this is also ma shuchaha. Don't worry. Krishna says this is my promise. Sarvadharman parityajya. What it means is that Krishna is our priority basically. We have to do our samanya dharma, which is our day-to-day dharma, the type of body that we are put in, whatever our duties, that's our samanya dharma. We have to do that with all sincerity, along with the most important dharma, paro dharma, bhagavad dharma, which we should never forget, and we should follow that with simple bhakti by offering everything to Krishna instead of trying to go into too much speculation, analysis. Because Srila Prabhupada says when we overanalyze means it is paralysis by analysis. So best thing is understand what is required to be understand, what is necessary, how we are doing, trying to read Srila Prabhupada's purpose and understanding exactly as it is. And that is sufficient, Srila Prabhupada says, and that is good. So yes, I would like to end the call here. It is 8:43. If anyone has any comments, anything you want to add, please forgive my mistakes also if I made any. So yes, thank you so much. I really enjoyed speaking and discussing. So अवंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितनं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. Anyone wants to add anything? I'll just go through the chat box. Okay. Thank you, Namrata Mataji, for your encouragement. Okay, so we'll end here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.